Unlock your inner calm.
Okay, let's dive in. You know those moments, right, when you have a decision that just feels, well, gut-wrenching. Or maybe you get that flutter of butterflies before something big.
Absolutely, that feeling in your stomach.
Yeah, exactly. And these aren't just like quaint sayings, are they? It feels universal, this sense that our emotions and our belly are somehow deeply linked.
For sure. And for the longest time, maybe people dismissed it, Just metaphor or stress showing up physically. Maybe even that old line, it's all in your head.
Right.
But the research we're looking at today, the sources we've gathered, they show something much, much deeper. It's not just a loose connection. There's this constant, active, two-way conversation happening, literally, between your gut and your brain.
And our sources really drive home that this isn't some subtle thing either. This chat between gut and brain, it influences so much more than just, how you digest your lunch.
Way more.
We're talking mood, focus, energy levels, sleep, anxiety, your whole outlook, really. It's like this powerful hidden axis running right through you.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's like finding this hidden control center for your well-being that's been operating sort of under the radar, shaping your mental state from the inside.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to really unpack the mechanics of this gut-brain link. We'll look at the science, what happens when it goes wrong, according to our sources, and crucially, lay out the steps they suggest you can actually take.
Yeah, actionable things to nurture this connection and basically improve both your gut and your mind.
Okay, so to get this conversation, we need to know who's talking. Let's map out the system. The gut-brain axis, you mentioned the gut is sometimes called the second brain.
That's right. It's earned that nickname.
That sounds pretty major. How does it stack up against the one, upstairs?
Well, it's not a brain for conscious thought, obviously, but it's incredibly complex. Your gut lining, it's packed with neurons, over 100 million of them.
Wow.
It's called the enteric nervous system, or ENS. And it's so sophisticated it can manage a lot of digestion pretty much on its own, independent of the brain.
So it's like its own little command center down there.
Yeah.
But it does talk to the main brain, right? It's not totally separate.
Oh, definitely. They're in constant communication. And the main line, the sort of superhighway between them, is the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve?
Yeah. Think of it like a massive data cable running both ways, carrying signals nonstop. Gut sensations to the brain signals back down to the gut, mood, stress, everything.
Okay, so we've got the ENS, the second brain, talking to the main brain via this vagus nerve highway. But there's another huge element in all this, isn't there? This massive community living inside us.
Yes, the gut microbiome.
Yeah.
Trillions and trillions of microbes, bacteria, fungi, viruses, even things called bacteriophages, which hunt bacteria. It's this incredibly busy, diverse ecosystem inside your intestines.
And the scale of it, especially looking at findings from the Human Microbiome Project, it's just staggering. Like the sheer number of microbial cells versus our own human cells.
That was one of the big early findings, yeah. The H&P estimated something like 10 times more microbial cells in and on us than human cells.
10 times. So when you think of yourself as cells, 90% of them aren't technically human. That's a mind bender.
It totally reframes things, doesn't it? And then you look at the genes.
Ah, yes, the genetic side.
It gets even wilder. The combined genomes of all these microbes, their collective DNA, might hold over 8 million unique genes.
8 million. Compared to what? Our human genome?
We've got about 20,000 to 25,000 protein coding genes.
So they have hundreds of times more genetic instructions than we do, residing right inside us.
Exactly. It's a massive difference. It strongly suggests their genetic contribution to us as a soup organism. This blend of human and microbe is just enormous. They're not just hanging out. They're performing functions using those millions of genes, functions we simply don't have the genes for ourselves.
So they're doing way more than just helping us digest food. They're like tiny biochemical factories.
Precisely. And the H&P and other sources point out some really critical jobs, for instance, making key neurotransmitters. This one always gets people. Your gut microbes are involved in producing something like 90% of your body's serotonin.
90%. But we always think of serotonin as the brain's feel-good chemical.
Right. But the vast majority is actually produced in the gut. It completely flips the script on where good feelings might originate.
That's incredible.
And it's not just serotonin. They also play roles in producing dopamine, GABA, all vital for mood, sleep, managing anxiety. They're chemical messengers, and the gut is a major production hub.
What else did the HMP find these microbes are up to with all that genetic power?
Well, they synthesize certain vitamins we need, help metabolize medications, detoxify some harmful stuff. They trigger the renewal of the gut lining cells, keeping it healthy, and they're absolutely crucial for training and supporting our immune system. Something like 70% of immune cells are located near the gut.
Wow, so it's like a manufacturing plant, detox center, and immune trainer all rolled into one, run by microbes.
That's a pretty good way to put it. And another fascinating HMP finding. The exact mix of microbes can vary wildly between healthy people, even twins. But the metabolic pathways they carry out the jobs they do are remarkably similar across healthy individuals.
Ah, so it's less about the specific players and more about the team being able to perform the essential functions, like housekeeping for the body.
Exactly. The healthy microbiome, whatever its precise makeup, performs those core functions. Maintaining the gut barrier, managing the ecosystem, doing that crucial biochemistry. It's the collective function that matters.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's the picture when things are working well. But what happens when that ecosystem gets, disrupted, when the band is out of tone?
Right, that's dysbiosis. And that's when the gut-brain conversation can really break down. The sources detail several ways this unhealthy gut sends distress signals that mess with your mental and emotional state.
Okay, let's talk about those distress signals. Inflammation seems to be a big one.
Yeah, the information cascade. When the microbiome's off balance or the gut lining gets irritated, maybe from stress, diet, whatever, it can become more permeable. People call it leaky gut.
Leaky gut sounds unpleasant.
It means things that shouldn't get through the gut wall, like bacterial bits or undigested food particles, can leak into the bloodstream.
And the body sees those as invaders.
Exactly. The immune system sounds the alarm, triggering inflammation throughout the body. And crucially, this inflammation can cross the blood-brain barrier and affect the brain.
Brain inflammation.
And that's increasingly linked to mood disorders like depression, anxiety, even cognitive issues like brain fog.
So a leaky, unhappy gut could literally be fueling low mood or fuzzy thinking through inflammation.
That's a major pathway the sources highlight. And then there's the direct impact on those neurotransmitters we talked about.
The chemical messengers.
All right.
Neurotransmitter imbalance.
Right. If the good bacteria making serotonin or GABA get crowded out by less helpful ones, production drops. Or where some bad bacteria might produce stuff that interferes with how your brain uses the neurotransmitters you do have.
So less production and potential interference with delivery.
Pretty much. And that directly hits your mood. Could lead to more anxiety, feeling down, irritable. Your internal chemistry gets skewed. And this often feeds into another problem, stress response overload.
Ah, the famous vicious cycle.
Totally. An inflamed, imbalanced gut sends stress signals up the vagus nerve and through inflammatory pathways. This activates the body's main stress system, the HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary adrenals.
The system that pumps out cortisol.
Right, putting you in a constant state of low-grade fight or flight. Chronically high cortisol is bad news all around. It actually worsens gut leakiness, disrupts the microbiome even more, impacts mood, messes with sleep.
Which then makes the gut issues worse, which triggers more stress. Round and round it goes.
Exactly. It's a nasty feedback loop. And one more thing. A dysfunctional gut just struggles to do its basic job of feeding the body.
Nutrient malabsorption.
Yep. The gut lining is where you absorb vitamins, minerals, all the essentials. If that lining is damaged or the microbes aren't helping process things properly, you don't get the nutrients your brain desperately needs.
Like what specifically? What does the brain really need from the gut?
Things like B vitamins, crucial for energy and making neurotransmitters. Magnesium, involved in tons of brain reactions. Zinc for nerve signals. Omega-3 fats for brain cell structure. If your gut isn't absorbing these well, you can end up fatigued, foggy, unable to concentrate, feeling low.
So you could be eating well theoretically, but not getting the benefits to your brain because your gut's struggling.
Precisely. And the Harvard Health source really emphasizes this isn't a one-way street. Stress, anxiety, depression, these mental states can actually change the gut's physical function, how it moves, contracts, secretes things, making symptoms like bloating or pain worse.
And they really stress that conditions like IBS aren't just in your head. It's a real mix of physical gut issues and psychological factors.
Yes, they make that point very clearly. People with these conditions might even feel pain more intensely because their brain has become sort of hyper-aware, more sensitive to signals from the troubled gut.
So the gut sends louder distress signals and the brain is listening more intently. Ouch.
It's a true mind-body connection, or maybe disconnection in this case. And linking back to the HMP finding about metabolic capabilities being potentially more predictive of disease than just the species list.
Right, the function again.
It fits perfectly. When the microbiome loses its ability to perform those healthy tasks, manage inflammation, help make neurotransmitters, process nutrients, that's when you see these downstream effects impacting the brain and mood.
It really paints a picture of how interconnected it all is. When the gut ecosystem loses function, the whole system feels it, especially the brain.
That cascade of dysfunction is what translates into those negative mental and emotional states.
Okay, so that picture is, well, a bit concerning. But the really exciting part, the empowering message from our sources, is that this isn't set in stone. The system is responsive. You can actually influence it for the better.
Absolutely. You have a lot more power here than you might think. The sources offer a really practical roadmap. We can break it down into, say, 5 key pillars to build a healthier gut-brain axis.
Okay, let's hear them. Pillar 1, nourish with diverse whole foods. Sounds foundational.
It really is. Think of your gut microbes like a garden. They need variety to thrive. They love diverse plant fibers. So focus on a wide range of colorful fruits, vegetables, legumes like beans, lentils, and whole grains.
And the magic ingredient here is prebiotics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Prebiotics, not probiotics, which are the live bacteria themselves. Prebiotics are the fibers in plant foods that feed the good bacteria already living in your gut. They pass through undigested until they reach the colon, where your beneficial microbes feast on them.
So you're basically providing the best food for your good gut bugs.
Precisely. And the more diverse the plant foods you eat, the more diverse the prebiotics. And likely the more diverse and robust your microbiome becomes. Remember that HMP point about carbohydrates driving colonization? Providing lots of different complex carbs supports lots of different beneficial microbes.
That makes so much sense. What are some good examples of these prebiotic foods?
The sources mention things like berries, leafy greens, broccoli, apples, bananas are good, oats, barley, lentils, beans, onions, garlic, asparagus. Basically, aim for variety and color on your plate throughout the week.
Got it. Pillar 2, introduce probiotics. This is probably what most people think of.
It is, and it's important too. Prebiotics feed the residents. Probiotics bring in new beneficial recruits, the live bacteria. The easiest way is often through fermented foods.
The traditional stuff.
Yeah, foods made using beneficial bacteria, kimchi, real sauerkraut, the refrigerated kind kefir, unsweetened yogurt with live cultures, maybe some kombucha. Regularly including these can help.
What about supplements? Are they useful?
The sources suggest a good quality multi-strain probiotic supplement can be helpful sometimes, maybe after antibiotics or if you're under a lot of stress, but they often lean towards food sources being ideal. Fermented foods have other nutrients too, and the food matrix might help the bacteria survive.
Okay, food first if possible. Makes sense. Pillar 3, prioritize anti-inflammatory fats. Omega-3s.
Yes, omega-3s. Crucial for both gut and brain. They're essential fats your body needs but can't make. They're part of your brain cell structure, and they're really important for calming down inflammation system-wide, including that gut-driven inflammation we talked about.
Where do we find those?
Fatty fish are fantastic sources. Salmon, mackerel, sardines, anchovies. If you're looking plant-based, think flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts. Getting these regularly helps quiet those inflammatory signals.
Okay. Pillar 4 hits on something huge. Master stress management. We know stress is bad, but its role here seems direct.
Absolutely critical. Chronic stress just batters the gut microbiome and the gut lining. It fuels that whole negative HPA axis loop. So actively managing stress is one of the most powerful things you can do for your gut-brain health.
And how do the sources suggest tackling that?
The main idea is to regularly activate your rest and digest system, the parasympathetic nervous system. Get out of fight or flight. This means daily practices, deep breathing exercises, meditation, maybe some yoga, spending quiet time in nature, or just making time for hobbies you truly enjoy and find relaxing.
And the Harvard source mentioned psychological approaches actually help gut symptoms too.
Yes, it explicitly said that approaches like therapy or relaxation techniques can significantly improve digestive issues alongside medical treatments. It really shows that a calmer mind helps create a calmer gut. It's not just feeling better mentally, it physically helps.
That connection is so clear. Okay, final pillar. Optimize sleep quality.
Another huge one. Lack of good quality sleep acts as a major stressor. It disrupts your microbiome balance and increases inflammation, hitting those 2 key problems again. Plus, your gut and brain do vital repair work while you're asleep.
So skimping on sleep actively undermines your gut lining, your microbes, and your brain function.
It really does. Aiming for that sweet spot, usually 7 to 9 hours of restorative sleep, is key. Having a consistent sleep schedule winding down properly before bed, it all signals safety to your system, allowing that repair and rebalancing to happen.
So these 5 pillars, diverse foods, probiotics, healthy fats, stress management, sleep, school, they all work together. It's not just one thing.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach. And the sources really stress that consistency beats perfection. Small, steady efforts across these areas add up over time.
And if someone starts putting these into practice, what changes might they actually notice in their life?
Well, the potential benefits are pretty amazing. You're not just helping digestion. You're likely building a stronger foundation for, say, better mental clarity, more emotional resilience, a more stable mood, maybe more consistent energy, less anxiety, just an overall improved sense of well-being.
Yeah, people often report feeling less anxious, sharper focus, steadier energy, just feeling more grounded.
They really do. It's like you're actively investing in your future self, building sustained wellness by taking care of this core connection. And thinking back to that HMP conclusion that these microbes are our beneficial partners.
Right.
The hope really is that if we learn to care for them, see them as part of us, they'll care for our health in return in ways we're still discovering.
And that Harvard point about the mind impacting the gut physically is such a strong reminder your mental state isn't separate. It's an active player in your gut health.
The body's just not siloed parts.
Yeah.
It's one interconnected system. The gut-brain axis is maybe the best example of that deep integration.
It really is something to think about. Considering what the HMP found, that your microbes have hundreds of times more genes than you do, and what they do, their metabolic function, might be more important than exactly who they are. How does that change how you think about being you? Does it shift how you might prioritize your daily choices, knowing you're essentially the caretaker of this vast internal ecosystem?
It really does shift the perspective from just my body to our ecosystem, doesn't it? Recognizing that partnership is fundamental to how you feel, physically and mentally.
That framing is powerful. So maybe a challenge for this week could be just picking one thing. Maybe add some kimchi to a meal, try 5 minutes of that deep breathing, or aim for bed just 30 minutes earlier a few nights. Just one small step to start actively feeding that amazing gut-brain connection.